guys watched the minimum equipment list, I've still got everything lined up over here. We're going to move it all off to the side, and we're going to go from a required minimum equipment into nice to haves and situations. Let's reorganize, and we'll be back in just a second. Alright, some things that I like to fly with that I don't necessarily need. First thing on the list, camera. I have the GoPro, some kind of mount for it, some kind of arm. This one I'm actually going to swap out, it's too long for this specific one. This one I keep inside the cockpit, pointed inside. That way I can see what I'm doing, I can see what the airplane's indicating, and I can actually go back and see, oh, that was bad turbulent, there was a lot of it. But I like to have a camera inside the cockpit. Second one, another camera. This one you guys have seen in the actual flying videos. I put this straight up in the middle, pointed straight out, and this guy looks outside. So I have both of these GoPros going, one of them inside the cockpit, one of them outside the cockpit. That way I can see not only what I'm doing, but what the airplane's doing, how it's responding, and if I should have done something earlier, later, or different. So those are all nice to have. Going with those comes the audio recorder. So practicing ATC comms, talking to my instructor, talking to friends. It's really nice to have a comm system. That requires me to actually have a splitter, which is this little bundle. Essentially, plug in to the aircraft. I have one of them wired into a smaller jack, which I plug into the audio recorder, and then the split off goes into my headset. And then that's one of two wires in the headset, and the actual mic out goes straight into the aircraft. This one doesn't have to use it because it actually audio loop backs into your ear, so you can actually hear what you're saying. That goes along with the nice to haves because recorders make it so that you can go, alright, should have called tower there, I should have phrased it differently this way. I was nervous here, I said the wrong thing, I said it out of order, this is what ATC said, so I can expect that next time. Oh, I forgot something. How did I handle this? Did I say the procedure wrong? Did I do the procedure wrong? The three of those just let me analyze in post what I did, how I did it, and what actually happened. Because your mind does not always remember what happens. If you get into high stress or you're just doing something routine and you miss something, you won't remember it because you didn't remember it in the first place. So if you're breezing through something, etc., it's hard to remember, so these are always phenomenal. Plus, I can always share my adventures with you guys. So that is a very nice to have. Along with those comes the massive wires. So the first one is a battery. All of these run on batteries. They all die. There is not an outlet in the airplane, so I bring not only one battery, but a backup battery to my bag. A little overkill, but honestly, if I don't charge my battery, I would like to have a second one because I would rather have all of my equipment working rather than, oops, I forgot to charge it, here goes half of my nice to haves. So I bring two battery backups. This one's really small, it's like 6,000, so it might power all of these for like half an hour, which could get me just to the airport. I can start turning on and off cameras instead of completely leaving them on, or if my phone dies, I can just plug my phone into this. So if one thing dies, this works great. If they all die, I should have charged them and it was not a great night before apparently. This guy is like 20,000 milliamp hours. This will charge all of them for hours, probably about 1 to 2 hours, plus the initial battery. So when I'm going on a cross country, this thing is phenomenal to have. All of these cables, there's a whole plethora. All of the red ones are different types. This one is a micro USB, which goes to one of the cameras, as well as, actually that's just one of the cameras. Only one goes off of that. Another one is type C. That's my GoPro, or the second GoPro, as well as my phone. So I've got two cables for that. Then I've got the cable for the iPad, but most of these are mounted either above or behind me. Normally these are wrapped up. So most of the cameras are mounted above, behind me, or somewhere that's not super easily accessible. So I bring these little guys. I normally just bring two, unless I'm actually doing cross country and I need even more stuff. So normally I will bring two because that will make it so that I can completely move this giant brick into, leave it attached to my backpack and put it in the back seat. And these cables are 6 feet plus the 2 to 3 on the other ones. So these will let me basically move the cable and make it so I don't have to deal with all the cables, because when these things are dangling in front of you, it's kind of annoying, kind of inconvenient. Pile of cables. This one goes along with the next really nice to have, and that is the Stratus that I have. So this has GPS as well as ADS-B. It only has ADS-B in. You can wire this into a transponder and use it as an ADS-B out, which unfortunately I don't have the wiring to put it into a transponder, nor am I going to do that on 6 airplanes that I don't own, because I honestly don't fly the same airplane most of the time. I hop on whatever's free. But this thing is phenomenal. I currently have the suction cup mount on it. This is a dash mount, which I'm going to be using next time. I've never actually used it, but it's going to be getting to use really quickly because this suction cup mount is unreliable for me. I've just had bad luck with it. Even something so small, I've had it fall off like 3 to 4 times. So these are very hard with the changing pressure to actually keep them suction and make it so that it can support the weight. I've had good luck with GoPros, but Stratus and the iPad, they just weigh enough that as you climb in altitude, these suction cups don't always hold. So I'm going to try and put it on this little sticky, stick it on the dash, on the glare shield, and hope I don't forget it. But that is an extremely nice to have. It provides ADS-B to my iPad, and I love it. It provides extremely high precision for the iPad as well. And this is the charging cable that comes with it. I normally leave this at home unless I'm going on a long flight because the Stratus has like an 8+ hour battery. If I'm going on a 3-hour flight, realistically if I didn't charge it, it's still probably going to be fine, but if it dies, I lose almost all my tracking on my iPad. So then I can't have it pull my flight, and then I can't import that to CloudAhoy, I can't see how my procedures were, etc. So it's a phenomenal thing to have, and honestly, the Stratus is one of the higher things on my list before all the cameras and the audio recording equipment, because this also tells me where other airplanes are. That's a really, really nice thing to have. My eyeballs are better than this at finding things, but if I don't see it first, this will tell me where they're coming from and what they're doing. But you still have to look out because not everybody has ADS-B. You legally only need it in most places now. After that comes situational stuff. So, definitely don't need it, but I actually bring a pulse oximeter because I fly in Colorado, which means my cruising altitudes are 9,500 and 8,500. I was considering going up to 11,500 feet, and anything over 12, you start having to consider oxygen. So if I'm even considering getting close to that limit, I want to know if I'm even close to needing oxygen, or if I just need to descend, or if the passenger that I'm with, they're having trouble, I can just pull this out, get a reading, and say, oh, you're low on oxygen, we're going to descend. Not even an option. This is a nice to have. Not super critical if I'm only flying around the pattern, if I'm only staying in the area. When I start going on cross countries where we're at high altitude for a long time, this is a very nice to have. Not quite critical, but a very nice to have. So that goes. After that gets extremely situational, and realistically we're starting to move into night flying and edge cases. So when I did my night flight, I needed light. The airplane itself had some light, but it was terrible, and realistically it's also not on the minimum equipment list. So an airplane is not legally required to have light to fly at night on the interior. There are some external requirements, but on the interior, you don't actually need it. So I bring several forms of light because of course they all run on batteries. There's no real way to get around that. The most useful one, which I used a lot last time, was a headlamp, both white and red light. Red light is phenomenal for not destroying your night vision because realistically at night you're flying in the dark and you need that night vision. The red is for the white is for if you actually just need some light, say you dropped a water bottle or something. It's honestly kind of hard to see in the red. Everything gets a little flatter. It's a little harder to see dimensions. It's a little harder to see odd shapes, stuff like that. So the white will help you find something, or if you're just looking at charts for 5 minutes, or you're looking at a picture or something that you need color, the white is much better. So white and red is phenomenal for aviation. You can also get green and yellow. They both have their own perks, benefits, and purposes. But this one is red and white. Those are the most common. Those are the ones that you are most likely need to use. I actually got this at REI on a sale for like $30, one of their garage sales or something. So you can buy cheap, easy lights, you can buy $150 lights, you can buy $150 lights for $30. You don't need the highest expensive one, but it does need to work. If it doesn't work, you need a secondary. I have a secondary flashlight. This one I will probably do a review on later. This is the Surefire Aviator. Not the cheapest light, but it is actually quite phenomenal. It has an off mode, a white hot, a red hot, and a high and low mode. So you don't really want a super bright, blinding, red light when you're flying in the airplane, but you do want a really bright white light when you're doing your pre-flight. Because realistically, we're not flying airliners, but if you ever do have an airliner, or if you're not super close to something, you need that extra light to be able to see something small, a crack, etc. That white light is phenomenal for it. So that not only serves as my backup light, but also as my pre-flight light, because your phone light, not going to cut it on a pre-flight. Which also brings me to my tertiary, because, well, why have one when you can have three? My phone also comes with a backup battery and a light. So even though it is my fourth line of defense for everything, and it's pretty common for everything, this also has a flashlight on it. I can use that if I really need it, but I'm going to go through my other two lights as well as sets of backup batteries. I have one of them in my pocket, and I've got a second one in my flight bag, just in case the one in there doesn't work. I can't see anything. So I've got my backup, and if I have to go for my backup, I'm going to pull my backup that's in my bag and put that in my pocket, because then I'm just going to cycle through them, and the one in there is going to be toast. Light, this one is rechargeable. Another light, this one is not rechargeable because I don't want to worry about did I recharge my flashlight when I can't see anything and I'm in the air. If you can't see how fast you're going, it's really hard to land. There are some other ways to do it, but it's very difficult. Would not recommend it. Another super on the edge thing is the fact of gum. So if you can't get your ears popped, gum's actually usually a pretty good thing that will help you pop your ears, because none of the general aviation stuff that I'm going to fly for a while are going to be pressurized. And when I get my own airplane, or if I get something with oxygen, that probably will also not be pressurized. So popping your ears will become critical for going up to 15, 18,000 feet. You can't pop your ears, you're going to blow your eardrums. So gum, nice backup for if you can't pop your ears. Then, going after that, we start moving from flight, night situation, recording and playback, to what happens if I can't fly? What happens if I have to land somewhere else? In the summer, not a huge problem, because realistically you're not too likely, depending on where you are, to be too far from something. There's going to be a farm, there's going to be a road, there's going to be something you can aim for. It's unlikely that you'll have nowhere to go. And because it's in the summer, you usually don't have to worry about it too much. As you start going into winter, you need to start dressing appropriately for it. You need to start bringing jackets, not only to keep you warm in the airplane, but if you have to stay overnight outside, because you can't stay in the airplane or something else, you need an actual heavy jacket, as well as, I like to keep these little guys. These are little Mylar blankets. They will trap heat quite nicely, and they also work as a windbreaker. So these are a really good emergency use item. So I keep two of these, one for me, one for my passenger. If I'm going with a third person, I will probably throw another one in there, because while they're not the best primary defense against cold, they will help you. They will probably save your life in an emergency. So I do throw those in there in the winter. They're small, they're light, they don't really weigh anything, and they could save your life. On top of that, things like gloves, hats. Think about it. If you're staying outside, like now in Colorado, it's probably getting down close to 0. So the high for today is freezing, and it's mid-January. And that's actually pretty warm for here. So it could get down -20, -30 at night. And if the wind's blowing, which it normally is in Colorado, you're going to want something more. So you really need to start planning. If you have to hike out 2 feet of snow, it might be good to fly in boots. It might not be as easy, but if you have to hike through some snow, it might be good to bring some boots or wear them, because you might not be able to get it. All this stuff is super nice. If you want to, food, water, that's one thing that I don't have on the table, but water and some type of drink, etc. Not only great in a survival situation, but if you're spending a lot of time at altitude, it's very dry at altitude, so you will dry out essentially. So you'll start getting headaches, you'll regret it the next day. But you do want to bring a water bottle and some type of bag or some way to secure it so that you don't have to, well, that way you're not halfway through a flight and going, oh, I've got a dehydration headache. How do I deal with this? Because you can't just land and pick up a bottle of water very easily. You can do it, but it's not so easy. So I would definitely recommend bringing some type of liquid, water, maybe soda if you need to. Just something to drink that will keep you hydrated. in addition to my minimum equipment list and all the nice to haves and all the survival gear. So this covers everything that I like to bring on a flight. Where I put it all is always the hard part. I've gone through 2 bags and I'm starting to work up on a 3rd. I will go into the bags that I've used, the bags I like using, what I like about them, and where I'm at right now in bags. But hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing what I actually bring on a flight. The list keeps getting longer because the nice to haves keep going up. But my minimum equipment list is something I will always bring. Even if I just, hey, can you ferry this airplane in the future? I will always pick up charts. I will always have some type of paper and pen to have notes on. You always need your logbook. And either they're going to need to have headsets or I'll have some headsets. Everything outside of that, nice to have. Don't need it. If it fails, I can check it in the back and honestly, I'll be fine. On one of the cross-country flights that I did, the iPad fell off the window. I wasn't going to put it back up because I'm flying. I'm sitting here, can't really be sticking something on the window with 2 hands while I'm flying because there's no autopilot. So, I did have my instructor fly, but it fell off twice. 2 times, it's done. I just could not get it to work and couldn't spend the time to make it work. So, that was the end of it, and I flew from charts to my Newport. Didn't actually need anything else because I had all the information I needed there. But, hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing all the nice to haves. I'm adding more. You guys will see them later. And we're going to start diving into bags, how I put all of this gear into bags, how I put it in the airplane, and how I actually keep track of it all. Because I have left things in airplanes before. Luckily, I've gotten them back so far, but you can't always count on that. So, if you guys liked it, definitely like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys would like to see as far as content, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.